Well, hello everyone out there in the football world. It is me, your host Sanders of the Head Couch Analyst Show, and as usual, I am joined by my good friend over here that I've known for like 12 years, Pardue. How's your week going, man?
It's been going pretty good. Shout out to vets and Veterans Day for giving me the day off since we work for a school district. So shout out to the family members, shout out to people serving across the world and the country. Thanks for the day off. So yeah, it's going pretty good. Cleaned the house today, so we're vibing.
Yeah, I cleaned the house, mowed the lawn today because, I work at a school district as well as a teacher. We both come from military-esque families. My parents did not serve like Pardue's parents over here did, but my grandfather did, my uncle did, so I do have some family that served as well. So, as he said, thank you so much out there to our veterans. Other than that, you got anything else going on in life right now?
I mean, no, not really. Planning for the wedding coming up here in a few weeks, honestly.
Yeah, it's less than a month now.
Yeah, it's really coming up quick. But yeah, we finally got everything booked. We got the hotel booked, venue and everything all paid for. So finally getting the burden taken care of because that's what it's been. But we're looking forward to having it be done.
Cool. So, if you haven't read the screen title already, we do have another guest with us this week. We have GabbGoudy with us, a Cleveland Browns fan. So I've got a rival from me this time around. How are you doing today, Gabby?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on here with you.
No problem. So if you are a new listener, the gimmick of our show, if you saw we are called the Head Couch Analysts, is we took the term head coach and couch and put it together because we are just amateur analysts and we like to invite amateur analysts on with us. And considering how her headline is mediocre sports takes, I thought it was pretty fitting for her to be on here as well. So, let's just start off with looking back at Week 9 and some takeaways we had, and some things that I think may or may not freak people out. The first thing I want to address here is the Steelers-Cowboys game, which, by the way, was a lot of fun to watch. I'm not going to lie. But a lot of people, are sitting here like kind of freaking out saying, maybe the Steelers aren't as good as we thought. They struggled to beat the Cowboys. A lot of people placed them low in rankings due to the fact that they did struggle. But, I mean, being quite honest, Mike Tomlin Steelers usually play down to their competition sometimes. And as Allie said last week on our show, our guest from last week, she thought it was a possibility they would lose because of that. But contrary to how trending goes with Mike Tomlin teams, they didn't lose. They're 8-0. I'm going to be honest. I'm not worried about this team at all. I don't think there's any reason to be scared of them. They have a 2-game lead in their division. They're the number 1 seed right now. They have a defense that can pretty much beat anyone. Their offense rolls when it needs to. I think they're fine. Gabby, what do you think? I know you're the local Steelers hater over here.
I think they're good, but I don't know. I think they're good, but they're not going to be the best team. There's definitely teams that could beat them. They would get beat by the Chiefs easily. They would play the Chiefs, they'd get beat. They'd probably play the Ravens again and lose that game too. So that's just how I feel about them.
Personally, with me for the Steelers, I'm not worried about it at all. They have, in my opinion, the best defense in the league, and like you said, an offense that rises to the occasion when it's needed. It's not an elite offense by any means, and what a 2020 elite offense really should be. It's not like he's the Cardinals or the Chiefs or the Seahawks or anything like that, but they're a really good smash mouth offense with some really good weapons. I think still, like, to me, and maybe Gabby will give me some flack for it, but it's kind of hard for me to pick another team that's better in the NFL right now. I feel like they're the most consistent and well-rounded team in the league, and they got great coaching, and two sides, all three phases of the football team all complement each other really well, and that shows in their record. So I like what they're doing, and I'm not worried about one game. Sometimes teams are going to throw out stinkers and lose to teams you're not supposed to, and they didn't lose this week, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on there. So that was really the only takeaway I had. A lot of the things I have to talk about in this episode are going to be on our segments. So, but that was really the only one I wanted to address that didn't necessarily fit into the segments. So, you got anything for us, Pardue?
For me, there wasn't a whole lot of major takeaways from this week. As a Cardinals fan, I was really frustrated with how the Cards and Miami game went. I think a big part of that was missing 4 defensive starters. Luckily, every player that the Cardinals were missing last week returned to practice today, to include Kenyon Drake. So I think that's going to be really big for them this coming week against the Bills. Tua, on the other hand, I know it was against a down defense, but he's looking like the real deal, and he was the one I was most worried about coming into this season. So we'll see if his success continues. One thing I wanted to mention is, sorry, maybe it's just me and me hating on the Seahawks, but they're impressing me on a lower and lower level with each week, and that defense is. Everybody, when they played the Niners, like, oh wow, this defense is back. They showed signs, and then they got Jamal Adams back, and they were like, oh, this defense is gonna start playing really well again. And they got absolutely demolished by the Bills. And Jamal Adams he looks terrible in coverage, honestly. And if that's your best player on defense, and the only time he's making a real impact is in pass rush. That's a problem. And on top of that, Russell Wilson's kind of coming back down. I still think he's the best quarterback in the league, but he's coming down to earth a little bit. He's now thrown 5 picks in, I believe, the last 3 games. And then he just doesn't look as sharp. And honestly, I'll get more into it later, but I think he's fallen out of the MVP race. I think at the moment right now, it's solely a 3-person race between Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, who probably had his best game as a pro on Sunday, and Patrick Mahomes. And not a lot of people are talking about Patrick Mahomes, but look at the stat sheet. He has 25 touchdown passes and 1 interception. What he's doing is absolutely insane, and nobody's talking about it. I guess it's just because we kind of expect it from Patrick Mahomes now, but he's having an MVP caliber season as well.
I don't think I've got anything on that or any comments on that. Pretty much everything you said, I'm not too far from, quite honestly. Gabby, you got any different thoughts on that?
I like the Patrick Mahomes talk for sure. He's the real deal. I think he's so great. I think he's good. Like I said before, though, I'm big on the Chiefs, so I know that they lost to the Raiders, but they lost other games last year and they still won a Super Bowl. So
I think you'd have to be a fool if you were not in on the Chiefs, right? They've already won games in every single way possible this year, and we've only gone through 9 weeks, right? They've won a defensive game, they've won a high-flying offensive game, they've won from behind, and they've stayed ahead. In a sense, they've won every way possible, and they've shown it. So, to beat the Chiefs, we've talked about this before. We talked about it actually on our Super Bowl episode last year. But if you want to beat this Chiefs team, you need to have a game plan of saying we're going to score at least 35 points, because that's what you have to do, right? If you can't score more than 35 points, more than likely you're not going to beat them. I think the only teams who ever have beaten them, I think all of them have scored more than 35 points. Because the Chiefs are going to score a minimum 30 on you, right? So, the Panthers found that out this last week, right? The Panthers did really well, but in the end, they didn't reach the golden number 35, and that's what killed them in the end. Pardue, do you got anything else?
That's all I got for this week. I didn't really have a whole lot of takeaways from this week.
Cool. Gabby, do you have anything that's on your mind that you want to share with the rest of the world?
Nope. That's what I have from it too.
Yeah, week 3 was kind of I felt like a more of the same thing. There is, no, there's not one more thing. I'm going to save that for our passing from the couch segment. So, yeah, funnily enough, we got past our week 9 takeaways faster than we usually do. All right, so we are going to be starting a new segment here, and I would like to address this during the show. just for the sake of our audience. Gabby, it sounds like you're moving your phone a lot, and we're getting a lot of feedback from you.
Oh, sorry.
That's just what it sounds like. So I just wanted to let you know. The audience has been hearing you shuffle that back and forth. We're going to have a new segment. So we have our normal passing from the couch if you're one of our consistent listeners, which, by the way, thank you. We're averaging I think only 30-something clicks. We had 50-something clicks last week, which we were super happy about. But I think your average is around 30-something. So if you're one of the 30, thank you so much for tuning in. They know about the passing from the couch segment, but we got a new one for you. And I'm probably not going to do it every week, but we think we're going to do it like every other week. We're going to call it headline or sideline. So the idea is we are going to take a storyline that's been happening in the NFL, or maybe it's a brand new storyline, and we're going to say, yeah, that's going to be a headline soon, or it's in the headlines right now, or if we think it's a bad take, we'll say, no, we're going to put that to the sidelines. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to have Gabby or Pardue say how they feel about it. I'll make a comment on it, and that's how this is going to go. So for our first headline or sideline, we are headed to a Chiefs-Saints Super Bowl.
I'm gonna go first here to start, and I'm gonna throw that to the sideline. I do not like this Saints team. They've beaten some good competition, but I don't think they're very well rounded. I don't trust Drew Brees and his noodle arm. Yeah, they're winning games. I really don't take this Bucs victory that they had to heart. Because I haven't been impressed by the Buccaneers all that much this season. They've had some good games as well, but they also show the ability to throw up stinkers like that. There's not much for me to say on that. I'm throwing that one to the sideline. I'm not a big believer in the Saints. Maybe I'm drastically wrong for that. They'll be in the playoffs for sure. They're going to win their division. It's not like they're in a super strong division by any means. I don't buy that.
Yeah, same. I'm definitely going to go sideline with that because I also believe that Drew Brees is not the best anymore. He's washed. Just like Tom Brady, they're on the decline. I mean, they're really great quarterbacks, but there's other teams out there with younger quarterbacks with more abilities that are going to beat their team. So
funnily enough,
in addition to that, let's look at the playoff success the Saints have had the last few appearances.
Yeah, they play the Vikings and lose.
It's not that pretty for them. So I don't really trust this Saints team, especially in the playoffs. They'll be in it. They'll be in the playoffs for sure. I don't expect them to make a run.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of shocked on this one, how you guys have reacted to this, because I was looking at this, and I mean, so first of all, Sunday's game was extremely rare. Extremely rare. The game was over after the first quarter, basically, and there was no sign of a comeback ever happening. Those games are super rare, and they don't happen very often. So it's one of those games where you're really impressed by what happened, but at the same time, you got to throw it to the side and say, all right, that's not going to consistently happen from the Saints team. Let's see what else they do. Being quite honest with you guys, looking at the NFC and the way it's working, I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints have the number one seed by the end of the season. I don't think it'll be Green Bay. It's not going to be the Buccaneers. It's not going to be an NFC East team. And frankly, the NFC West division is so, cutthroat against each other. They're not going to have enough wins for it. So the Saints are left to probably have it, right? And maybe the Packers get it. But I have a feeling the Saints are going to be the ones taking away the number one seed.
That's a hot take because I don't see any universe where that happens.
It's the Packers or Saints, dude. It's one of the two.
I think it's wholeheartedly the Packers, and I think the Saints might be a third or fourth.
I have a problem because they lost badly to the Vikings and the Bucs. That's my problem with that, picking them as the number one seed. I don't think it's going to happen. But either way, here's why I'm throwing it to the sidelines. It's not actually because I don't believe in the Saints. Honestly, I think the Saints will make it to the NFC Championship this year. Whether they win it or not, I don't know. But they finally had their full healthy roster, and they made a statement game saying, hey, this is what we look like with our full healthy roster. Good luck to the 49ers, the Falcons, the Saints. Sorry, the Broncos, the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Chiefs. Those are their next 6 games. Like, they've got a cakewalk going on. That's kind of why I have them going to the number 1 seed. I'm mostly throwing this to the sideline because I still believe the Steelers beat the Chiefs in a head-to-head. That's why I throw it to the sideline, because I don't think the Chiefs are making the Super Bowl this year. So it's kind of funny. You guys threw it to the sideline because you don't think the Saints are anything, but I'm throwing it to the sideline because I don't think the Chiefs are making the Super Bowl. So all 3 of us agree on throwing it to the sideline, and yet we have 2 people on saying no way the Saints make it, and I'm saying no way the Chiefs make it this year. Next one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are done and not making it past the divisional round. What about you, Gabby? Let's start with you.
Oh, see, I feel like Antonio Brown is going to improve this team. We didn't get to see much of that, obviously, but I think he's going to be a help to that team. I don't think it's going to make them like a Super Bowl caliber team, but I think that they're going to be better than where they were. But I don't know what to do with it because I don't know, because I'm so tossed between that.
For me, I'm saying headline. I could definitely see that. To our listeners and you, Sanders, I haven't been big on the Buccaneers this year. Again, they've played some good games and they've beaten some quality opponents, but they're not that impressive of a team to me. I don't think they're. I think they're strongly defensively heavy, and Mike Evans has underperformed. Chris Godwin's been hurt. Maybe Antonio Brown gives a huge boost to this offense, and I'd really appreciate that because I picked him up in fantasy. But I also don't think Bruce Arians is all that big on Antonio Brown, and he's said as much in press conferences. So I'm not sure how keen he is to use him. At the beginning of the season, Bruce Arians said there's no way in hell Antonio Brown's going to be a member of this team. And now he's a member of this team. So I think it was all on Tom Brady and him saying, yo, you better go get my guy or I'm going to be pissed off. And Bruce Arians and the ownership kind of just went with it. So I'm not 100% sure how really involved Antonio Brown's going to be. I think he'll be a difference maker, but there's so many pieces on this offense, and they already weren't really clicking beforehand, and now you're going to add Antonio Brown to it, who hasn't played in over a year, like a year and a half. So I don't know. I'm going to say it's a headline, though. They'll be in the playoffs. They'll be a wild card team, but I could see them being a first-round exit.
Okay, so I'm actually immediately throwing this to the sideline because you guys aren't thinking bigger picture here, okay? So they're not making it to the divisional round was what we said. Bucks are done, they're not making it to divisional. You guys do realize they will have the number 5 seed. That's guaranteed, right? If they don't win their division, they have the number 5 seed. You do realize the number 5 seed plays the number 4 seed. Guess who's going to be the number 4 seed in the NFC? Some fucking NFC East team. They're not losing to an NFC East team. They're going to the divisional playoffs simply because they will kill whoever the NFC East team is. So I remember seeing that on Twitter. Like, people are like, they're done. First round exit, not happening, too inconsistent. And I'm like, I see what you're saying. But let's remember who they'll play in the wild card round.
Now you say that, but this is also a team that lost to the Bears.
Yeah, and the Bears are way better than any of the NFC East teams.
I could still see the Eagles beating this Bucs team. On a good day, they could. So I'm not going to just completely chalk that up to throwing it to the sideline.
Yeah, let's strongly disagree on that one. I
could see him being a first round exit. I do too. I think any reasonable football fan can look at that division and the teams within it and say, wow, this is an absolute shit show. But if you're still in the playoffs and it's still the NFL, any team, any day, and Carson Wentz hasn't been as bad as he was at the beginning of the season, so we'll see how it looks down the stretch. But, I mean, I still think it's a little bit too early to start picking and choosing who will and who will not be what seed and playoff matchups and what these teams are going to look like in 8 weeks. So I'll hold off. But if it were to be today, I could see the Eagles finding a way to pull off a victory against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers don't impress me. That's just me.
Yeah, you want to know who doesn't impress me even more? The Philadelphia Eagles. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, you're right. And again, I could bring up the Bears. The Bears are like one of my least liked teams, and they still beat them.
So we're going off on a tangent here, but I'm going to go on this tangent real quickly. I will pick the Bears every single time in a Bears-Eagles matchup, just so you know. Simply because that defense will stall out the inconsistent Eagles offense, and their defense won't do shit. Right? I think they can score enough points against the Eagles. I would never pick the Bears to lose to the Eagles. As much as I despise that Bears offense, I wouldn't do it. You know what? We have a third person here. Gabby, who would you pick if they were to play this weekend? Would you be picking
the Bears or the Eagles? I think the Bears are frauds, so I think it would be a close game.
I think the Bears are frauds too. We've said that on the show before. But if you had to pick, like, who's winning it?
I just want to go with the Eagles for the drama.
Damn. All right, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'm in the minority here. All right, third headline today. I think we might all agree on this one. Tua is the franchise quarterback for the Dolphins, and they made the right decision in benching Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm going to go on this one first. It's been 2 games, and he didn't even do anything in the first game. But honestly, I must say headline. Mostly because when I've seen quarterbacks in the last 3 years start their first 2 to 3 games, it's usually easy to identify. Yeah, they're going to be starting for at least a while. Like when I watch, as much as I really do like Drew Lock, when I watch Drew Lock or Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins their first 3 games, I didn't walk away from those 3 games saying, yeah, they're going to be the franchise starter. I walked away from those 3 games saying there's potential, they need to improve, right? When I watched Kyler Murray, when I watched Patrick Mahomes his first time, when I watched Deshaun Watson the first time 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't have that feeling. It was oh yeah, this guy right here, he's pretty damn good. He's going to be there. Even Baker Mayfield, like watching him, as much as I despised Baker Mayfield his first 2 seasons, I couldn't deny that he looked pretty good. And the way I feel about Kyler Murray last year, I was like, yeah, Kyler Murray's it. This is it right here. And I feel the same way about Tua watching him. And I understand, like, you know, we don't have film on him yet. Teams might not identify things with him yet. He didn't necessarily play the best defense this last weekend. Regardless, he did what he needed to do. He made the mobile plays around the pocket. He made the clutch throws. Like, honestly, I think Miami, that has a solid squad already, has their franchise quarterback, at least for the next few years.
See, for me personally, I'm throwing this to the sideline, and it's no disrespect to Tua. I just don't like slapping the franchise guy on a guy this early. I don't think you should ever be doing that. I identify my own quarterback, Kyler Murray, as a franchise guy until probably officially about week 4 of this year. I need to see it over a long period of time. I can't just do it after 2 games. And like you said, now, after this last game that Tua just played, teams officially have tape on him. We're going to need to see how he adjusts. There hasn't been a whole lot of left-handed quarterbacks that have been really good in this league. I just think that's how, for me personally, and there's a reason to that. It's just that's how defenses play. And if you have a guy who's constantly needing to roll left and throw left, if teams can pressure him and push him right, that's just something I want to see him do more. I need to see that he can actually throw from both sides of the field because, I don't know, again, we haven't seen a lot of very successful left-handed quarterbacks. I like Tua. And it's no disrespect to Tua, but throwing around this franchise guy tag this early, I don't think is right, and it shouldn't be happening yet. Let's see about a year and a half, and then we can decide. Tim Tebow was a franchise guy in his first 8 games.
He was never a franchise. Don't even say that.
I'm sorry, what was his record?
Dude,
and a lot of people really loved Tua.
He was fucking 8-8 was what he was. First of all, second of all, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn even when he went 8-8. No.
People were and people still hailed him as a franchise guy.
You want to know why?
So that's why I'm ready to wait.
You want to know why people loved him so much? Because he was so fantastic in college, right? But B, he was the guy that Christian football players watched and was like, yeah, that's our representative, because he was super Christian. Tebow Mania was a cancer to NFL football, and I will always maintain that. I hated Tebow Mania. Hated it.
And you can have that opinion and still understand the fact that people were labeling him as a franchise guy.
Not because of his talent, though, but because of who he was as a person. I'm labeling him this way because, like I said, when I watched Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray last year, I was like, yeah, these guys are it. And Tua gives me the same feeling. I didn't get those feelings from Dwayne Haskins, Daniel Jones, and Drew Lock. I understand the whole you need to wait, but I feel like you need to wait when it comes to guys who are like Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Dwayne Haskins, right? There's potential. We'll see what happens. Whereas those other guys I mentioned in the upper echelon, like the Kyler Murray and Tuas of the world, it's like, yeah, he's already showing off his potential. It just needs to be consistent, and I would believe that he could do something like that. Gabby, why don't you break this off for us?
I think that I would not say that he's a franchise QB yet because, again, how many games has there been?
Only 2.
How many games has he done things impressive? 1, kind of. And then it just I haven't seen anything yet. It could be like the Baker Mayfield cycle. Have you ever seen those memes?
Oh, yes, the Baker Mayfield cycle, where it's like, plays terribly, media doubts him, plays well, media doubt, and it goes over and over and over, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at with him. We've only had 1 game. We need to see something more.
I definitely respect it. The only thing
he's probably going to be good. He's probably going to be good, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, I know.
And you can be good and not be a franchise guy either.
Yes.
Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's good. He's not a franchise guy.
I would not call Ryan Fitzpatrick good. I would call him elite.
He's been in the league for what? How long?
Hold on.
14 years?
I would call him mediocre and elite in spots. He's overall mediocre,
good.
Not good.
I would call him good.
No, I would call him mediocre.
I would call him good, but a non-franchise guy.
I think we have different definitions of good. If you're good, it's because you have a long-term contract and you have a winning record as a quarterback, right? He's mediocre. Ryan Fitzpatrick is mediocre.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah, says the guy who thinks he should be in the Hall of Fame. If you guys missed out on that episode, check that one from 3 weeks ago. That was a fun topic. Last one for the headline sidelines. 2 divisions are going to have 3 playoff teams. Let me start off with you, Gabby.
Wait, what did you say? Sorry, it cut out.
2 divisions are going to have 3 playoff teams.
Shoot. See, now I can't even tell you this because I want to say there's going to be at least 1, which is AFC North, hopefully. But I think that's it, to be honest.
For me, I think I'm thinking about tossing the sideline too, and I know they expanded the playoffs and everything this year. But the more and more, as more weeks go by, I still think the NFC West is really, really good. It's one of the best divisions of football. I could see the AFC North putting 3 teams in. But I also think the outlook on the AFC is, and I'm going to get more into that later. It's part of my passing from the couch segment, but I think the AFC has become a lot stronger, so I'm not sure about 3 teams in there. And then as more weeks go on in the NFC West, the 49ers are falling, and the Rams show signs of inconsistencies. The Cardinals, you don't quite know which team you're going to get on a week-to-week basis in terms of their defense. And then the Seahawks have a terrible defense and an elite offense, but Russell Wilson has been thrown and turning the ball over a lot lately. So If I were to pick one division, it would probably be the NFC West. But at this point, I only see two coming out of there because I think down the stretch here, there's going to be a lot of NFC West matchups, and they're all going to beat up on each other, and it's not going to result in a lot of wins across the board. And then I just think the AFC is too stacked to have. Honestly, at this rate, if the matchups are continuing to go the way they are right now, I don't see any division putting three teams in, and that's saying a lot given the fact that the playoffs have expanded. I see one, but I'm not sure I'm ready to go two.
So, I'm actually throwing this one to the sideline, actually because of my Hail Mary. I don't believe the Rams are actually going to secure a playoff spot. I think the Seahawks and Cardinals will. As for the AFC side of things, I certainly believe the Steelers and the Ravens will make it. That 7th seed in the AFC is tough. That is a Raiders, Dolphins, Browns, and Colts 4-way roundabout at 5-3 right now. And it's not even like, those 4 teams are even that far behind the 4th and 5th seed, right? Like the Titans are 6-2 and the Ravens are 6-2. They're not far behind. The AFC has a very close, tight race, and then when you look at the NFC side, it's like, well, the division winners are good. The Cardinals are pretty decent. I mean, they lost a clincher, but it's fine. They still played relatively well for what the situation they were in. And then, well, the Bears look fake. It's not going to be the 49ers. And then every other team has 3 wins or less in the NFC. The NFC is very top-heavy this year. So, yeah, it's hard to say how that's going to work out. But I will talk about the Rams more in a second. That is going to be it for our headline stuff. So, again, if you're a new viewer, we're going to move on to our segment for Passing from the Couch. I'm not really going to explain it like I have in the last couple episodes because that gets tedious after a while, especially for our consistent listeners. But we have these 3 passing plays that we do as takes. We have our check down, our first down completion, and our Hail Mary. Essentially, you'll notice that our check downs are usually really safe. Our first down completions are maybe a little risky, but mostly safe, and our Hail Marys are hot takes. But the condition is that Pardue has to believe in his hot take, and I have to believe in mine. We don't necessarily have to believe in each other's. Gabby, if there's any takes that you feel like you want to contribute, you may. But we're going to start off with ours first. My first take. Listen, I hate the national media sometimes. But I get it. You got to drive narratives. You got to drive stories. As amateur analysts, we're here to bring you back to earth. Listen, the Bucs are fine. They're fine. They're not done. They're not cooked. They're not garbage. They're fine. If you ask me, they're the Jekyll and Hyde team of this year. Every year, there's always a team that absolutely stomps and then does absolutely poorly. That appears to be the Bucs this year, considering how it's a team that has Todd Bowles as the defensive coordinator. Doesn't surprise me. Anytime he's ever been defensive coordinator, it's always noticeable that his defense is usually amazing or not at all. Flashbacks to when he was defensive coordinator of the Cardinals comes to mind for those kind of games.
NFC Championship game pain.
Yeah, seriously though, they're fine. If you ask me, Brady could easily go on a run in the postseason, very easily. Antonio Brown could easily adjust. There's a lot of football left, and they're 6-3. I don't see a reason to freak out about this team at all. They're fine.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like I kind of said earlier, they're going to be a playoff team. I'm not quite sure they're going to win that division because I'm pretty sure they've already played both their games against the Saints and they lost. Yeah, that's swept. Right, because they got swept. So that puts them at a pretty huge disadvantage in having any chance of winning their division. Surely at this rate, they're 6-3. They played 9 games, so they're more than halfway through their season. They're not going to shit the bed and miss the playoffs. So they'll be a playoff team. I'm not convinced they're going to make a run. It's not over for them. They're a fine team. Like you said, they're the Jekyll and Hyde team. So, yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you.
Gabby, you there?
Sorry, it keeps cutting out. Like the last 2 minutes, it just kept cutting out, and then I was trying to listen, and then it just kept cutting out, and I didn't want to interrupt what you guys were saying.
No worries. Did you hear what my take was though? I had said that the Bucks are just fine. They're not going to be elite or anything, but I think they're fine. This whole
Sorry, it just cut out. It just keeps cutting. Did you say Bucks?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm really so sorry.
No worries. No, I was saying that the Bucks are fine. Basically, what I was saying.
Yeah, the Bucks are fine.
Yeah, they're the Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, I don't think we need to bury them, but we also don't need to put them on a pedestal.
Tom Brady is fine.
Exactly. So, what about you, Pardue? What do you got for your check down this week?
So for my check down, we were kind of just talking about it, but I think for the first time in quite a long time, I'm willing and ready to say that the AFC is better overall from top to bottom than the NFC.
Oh, damn.
Even you said it earlier that the NFC is very, very top heavy this year, and it really, really is. And even the top teams in the NFC right now are showing signs of pretty major weakness. You've seen the Packers lose some games that they shouldn't have lost. The Seahawks are coming down to earth and have a terrible defense. And even the middling teams, like the Cardinals, because I could still consider them a middling team. Because the thing with the Cardinals is right now is they're beating teams that they shouldn't beat, and then they're dropping games versus the Panthers, the Lions, and the Dolphins. I think that's just part of the process of a young team, and they're just playing up and down their competition. But that's a major flaw for a team, and it could hurt them come playoff time with their seeding. That being said, the AFC is just absolutely stacked. You got the Chiefs, you got the best team in football right now, in my opinion, in the Steelers, and then the middling teams seem to be getting better and better on each week. Look at the Dolphins; they're now 5-3 after switching to Tua, and I wasn't a fan of that move. And I'm still not convinced that it was quite the right answer. But with that being said, and just look, you got the Steelers and the Ravens and the Browns, and there's just so many good teams in the AFC, and I feel like there's more well-rounded good teams in the AFC than there are in the NFC. And I feel like the glaring issues with the NFC teams are far more, what's the word I'm looking for? I would maybe serious and hurtful than the AFC teams. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely think the AFC teams are way better. Even the bottom teams are still getting some wins. Look at the Bengals.
Yeah, they came out and upset the Titans, and then they also tied with the Eagles isn't that hard, but I think the Bengals have been very competitive for what they have been, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, and there's a lot of teams on the AFC that are just kind of on the rise. Like you mentioned the Bengals, they got Joe Burrow, and he's looking like one of the best young quarterbacks we've seen come out in a really long time. And then how about Justin Herbert? I was a Justin Herbert hater. I didn't think he was going to be anywhere near this kind of performance. And to me right now, he's the rookie of the year. So I think as of right now, the AFC has vastly improved over years past. And I think getting the Patriots out of there really helps. And it helps that entire conference. And so excuse me. It'll be interesting to see how the AFC is going to continue to shake out in years to come.
Oh, yeah? Cool. Gabby, you got anything else on that?
Nope, just AFC. I like the AFC better, obviously, for my team. But for general knowledge, I think that they're better also.
Cool. So let's stick with the AFC for a second. And for my first down completion, I'm going to tell you right now, I still think the Steelers are the best team in the NFL currently. If you pit them against the Packers, the Saints, or the Chiefs, I'm probably picking the Steelers. I wouldn't be shocked if the Packers, Saints, or Chiefs beat the Steelers, right? But I'm still picking them at the moment to win. That being said, despite the fact that I think the Steelers are the best team, I'm very appreciative that going into Week 10, the entirety of the NFL is wide open. wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Every single quote-unquote elite team or a team that you would want to put into the elite conversation has a weakness. The Saints, I can't really tell you the Saints right now because they just got a fully healthy roster and they dominated, right? But I can tell you from the past, they're not as explosive on offense and they have to rely on Alvin Kamara. Who knows if that is still the case? But at the time, that's what was one of the takes I had for the Saints. We'll see what happens with the Saints as they go on. Packers, they have the same problem as last year. Get physical with them. If they can't play their quote-unquote, to steal a quote from a comment on the air raid, if you can't steal their pretty boy football away, their finesse, their rhythm, if you steal that away from the Packers, they can't play gritty football games. They lose them every time. The Vikings got physical, beat them down. The Buccaneers got physical with them and beat them down. Same problem as last year. It hasn't gone away. They need to learn how to win tough games. So that's how you beat the Packers. Steelers, we kind of saw it the last couple of weeks, right? Run the ball down their throat. For a defense that was like so stout against the run, if you constantly are pounding the rock, they're going to give away eventually. The Ravens did it. The Titans did it with Derrick Henry near the end of the fourth quarter in that Titans-Steelers game. The Cowboys were doing it, right, with Tony Pollard, of all people. So, and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are very narrowly winning their games, which, you could argue that means they're the best, but man, we haven't seen the Chiefs be like this vulnerable, right? Which isn't to say they're super beatable, because the Chiefs are not super beatable, but they're a lot more vulnerable than they have been in years past. So I'm so happy the NFL is wide open, and I honestly couldn't give you a Super Bowl prediction at the moment. There's 8 teams you could put in the Super Bowl right now, and I would believe any of those 8 teams. Now, every single team has more chances than the others, right? Like the Chiefs and Steelers have better chances than the Colts or the Ravens or whoever, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if you told me the Ravens or the Colts or whoever was in the Super Bowl, right? So I appreciate that the NFL is super wide open this year, and that's how I feel.
No, I completely agree with you. Even more in the NFC, it just if you just look at the divisions across the league, everything's just super close. It could go to almost anyone at this rate. No division's even close to being locked up. It's going to be a really interesting end to this season, man. We're now hitting the home stretch. Majority of the teams have played 8 games now. Yes, all teams have played at least 8 games now. So we're all past the halfway point, and now we're in early to mid-November football, and this is when seasons, live or die. It's gonna start getting really clear after this month how these seasons and how this playoff outlook is going to go. And with how close it is, it can really go any way. So we're in for a really good 2 months of football leading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and it gives me hope for my own team to make the playoffs for maybe the first time ever for me, basically.
Would it be the first time ever for you?
A win would be.
A long time.
Last time they made it was 2007, right?
And they lost.
I know they lost. Okay. All right. Man. Poor Browns fans. Gotta feel for them. You got anything else on that, Gabby?
No, I'm just happy. I'm just happy to see it.
Cool.
Literally, I'm just happy to see it. And I just like that, I don't know, our division could even shift. I get the Steelers are undefeated, but they could take 2 losses to the Ravens and the Browns, and then what happens there?
They're 8-2 at that point, and the rest of their schedule's cake. They probably finish 14-2.
So is everybody else's.
Yeah, but I feel like the Steelers win our division at 13-3 or 14-2 at this point. Honestly, that's just how I feel about them. You look at their schedule, and ours is just as easy as theirs, right? Because we're in the same division, and we play the same other division opponents. We play who do we play? I think we play the NFC East this year, don't we? No. We do. Yeah, we do. There's 4 give-me's, right? That's 4.
Honestly.
That's 4 give-me's for the Steelers, 4 for the Browns, and 4 for the Ravens, right? Like, it, I just don't see the Steelers really losing to anyone outside of us, and they've already beaten the Ravens once and the Browns once, right? So, yeah, it's unfortunate, as both AFC North fans here. We probably have to admit that the Steelers probably got it this year. They've started the first half was undefeated, right? At this point, they could go 4-4 and probably still win it. So, you want to go to your check down completion, Pardue? Or not check down completion, first down completion.
Yeah. So this was a little spicy. And maybe I'm wrong for thinking this, because they really hurt us in the beginning of the season, and I think you know where I'm going with this. The Vikings are going to make a playoff push.
Playoff push? Okay.
They've been getting... So the Vikings are finally looking like the team that me and Sanders expected them to be at the beginning of the season. And even when, at the beginning of the season, it's not like they were losing to bad competition. They almost even beat the Seahawks. This is still a good football team. They just had some really rough breaks to start the year, and now they're sitting at 3-5. So you're 3-5 halfway through the season. You got a chance to get to 4-5 against the Bears this week, and I expect them to win. And at that point, you got a little bit of momentum going. You got a little bit of a formula, and Dalvin Cook is absolutely going off. Let Dalvin Cook cook, dude, because he is going to carry that offense, and he's going to single-handedly get them some wins down the stretch, and they're going to start making some noise. And even if they don't make the playoffs, they're going to spoil some seasons, because this team's a lot better than their record shows. And they are going to make a playoff push. I'm not quite sold on them making the playoffs yet, just because this NFC and the playoff picture and the entire NFL is just such a mess. But watch out for the Vikings, because I think they're going to be in for quite a surprising second half of the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. Like against the Packers, they looked sick. And every other team they played, it's been good as well. I mean, Kirk Cousins kind of mediocre at best. But the rest of the pieces around him are really good.
I think the way I view Kirk Cousins is, when he's playing his best ball, he's an efficient quarterback, right? I would not call him a game manager at his best. At his best, he is a good quarterback. And at his worst, he is awful. So it kind of depends on who shows up that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I was actually going to have you do your Hail Mary after, because I took the first of the first two. But because we're on the Vikings, let's go to my Hail Mary. So 2 weeks ago, okay, and I've stated before, and I'm telling everyone in our audience now, and I'm saying this to Gabby as well, it is a terrible idea to make guarantees in the NFL before Week 12. It is a terrible idea, okay? Because if you make a guarantee and it doesn't happen, you look really fucking stupid. But 2 weeks ago, I made a guarantee when the Bears were 5-2, and I said they're not making the playoffs. That was a guarantee at 5-2, right? And I still stick by that, and I'm doubling down on it with this take right here. I'm going to make a second guarantee based off of that first guarantee. The number 7 seed in the NFC, I will guarantee you, is going to be held by the Vikings or the Falcons when it's all said and done.
So you agree with me?
So let me like plot this out, right? So Pardue helped provide my Vikings part. They're looking pretty good. Their schedule looks nice for the next 3-4 weeks. Actually, it's the Bears, the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Jaguars. Let's say you go 3-1 in that, right? Suddenly you're 6-6, and you got 4 games to go. That looks pretty good, right? And your last 4 games are the Buccaneers, Bears, Saints, Lions. At worst, it feels like you go 8-8, maybe 9-7, which is gonna be enough to get that number 7 seed. Now, some of you might be wondering, why the hell would you pick the Falcons to be the other team? Well, let's examine.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, because that means 3 teams out of the NFC South would be making the playoffs.
No. Well, wait. Yes, it would actually. Huh, interesting.
And I don't see that at all.
Okay, so here's the other thing for the Falcons, okay? Ever since Dan Quinn was fired, they are 3-1. Their one loss, Todd Gurley not getting down.
Mm-hmm.
This team should be 4-0 since the firing, right? They're not. Immediately people can say, well, they're not, so who cares? This team should be 4-5 right now, being dead honest, which would put them into the thick of things. Now, they're 3-6, and when you look at the rest of their schedule, this newer Falcons team, depending upon if the Saints that showed up Sunday night were real or not, they could beat the Saints this Sunday. This new Falcons team, they could beat the Raiders, they can beat the Chargers, and they can beat the Buccaneers. And those are the teams they have on their schedule. It's possible. They would have to win 5 games. You beat the Raiders, you beat the Chargers, you split your Buccaneers Saints games, because those are your 4 divisional games left. Why not? The rest of the NFC is terrible. The other thing that this does state is that I have no faith in the Rams, and at this point, I don't. Their wins make them feel like they were the product of facing the NFC East and the Bears more than it feels like they're good. That'll be tested this week when they play Seattle and then the Buccaneers, right? But if I'm being honest with you, they've lost to the good teams when they've played them. And I don't think that's a recipe for making the playoffs for them at all. So I don't think the Rams make it. That's the only other team that that the Falcons and Vikings will be competing with. So essentially, I'm telling you that the Bears aren't going to make it, like I said 2 weeks ago. I'm now saying the Rams are not going to make it, which is why I don't think 2 divisions will have 3 playoff teams from before, why I threw that to the sideline. And it's going to be the Vikings or Falcons. That's what I would put my money on in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't see it for the Falcons just because I don't think there's any way in hell an NFC South team puts 3 teams in the playoffs. That being said, I could buy the Vikings because I could see 2 teams coming out of the NFC North, and I think the Vikings have a really favorable stretch, and I think they're starting to turn into the team they were supposed to be. Falcons, on the other hand, I don't trust that team with a lead against anyone, so that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, the Falcons, they'll probably make it seem like they're going to win. And then the fourth quarter of the game that they're supposed to win to make it to the playoffs, they'd lose. So
Probably.
That's how I see it.
Probably.
How do you feel about the Vikings, Gab?
I really like the Vikings more than the Falcons making it into the playoffs. But, again, we'll see what happens with them. Because it could be anything.
So yeah, here I am foolishly telling everyone, going into week 10 that I'm guaranteeing the Falcons or the Vikings make it. It's one of the two. At the end of the day, when because I firmly believe in this take actually, the Vikings or Falcons are in it, I'll be like, yep, exactly how it should have been. Unfortunately, they'll have to play like the number 1 seed, right? Which if the Vikings or Falcons made it, they'd probably end up playing the Packers or Saints, which I guess wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for the Vikings. The Vikings own the Saints, and they can beat the Packers. So, hey, hell yeah, why not? I'm down for it. I'm down for that number 7 versus that number 7 versus number 2 seed. I'd be down. What's your hot take, Pardue?
My Hail Mary?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all ain't ready. But, you know how I feel about running backs. You don't pay them. It's stupid. Don't ever pay a running back.
Hey, Gabby, just, on this show, we hate paying running backs. We absolutely hate it. The David Johnson contract that scarred the Cardinals, garbage. Because I'm a Ravens fan and he's a Cardinals fan, right? The David Johnson contract, garbage. The fact that the Ravens don't pay running backs, we're only paying Mark Ingram $5 million a year, and we keep drafting running backs, amazing. Ezekiel Elliott getting paid, that sucks. Lev Bell getting paid, that sucks. Basically almost any. Oh, Melvin Gordon when he tried to get his contract but didn't. Mm-hmm. Guess what? The Chargers were right. We don't like paying running backs on this show. We always say, hey, you need to pay them $9 million or less. That is our philosophy here. Anyways, that's the context.
To be fair, we did get off the David Johnson contract and got D-Hop out of it, so I ain't that mad. Still fuck David Johnson, though. Anyway, Christian McCaffrey's contract extension was a huge mistake.
What?
Boom.
Wait a
Yes.
second. I understand we hate paying running backs, but why? This is one of the few running backs I feel like would work.
It's already starting. He's already getting hurt. He's out this week again with a shoulder injury, and he could be sidelined for who knows how long because he's already trying to get second opinions. And he'd already missed the majority of the season with an ankle injury. And yeah, it's just an ankle, and it's just a shoulder, and yeah, for David Johnson, it was just a minor knee injury, and it was just a wrist breaking, and then he wasn't ever the same after that. And I'm not saying the world's in the sky is falling for Christian McCaffrey yet, but this is how it starts. Those minor bumps and bruises, and then you stop running as hard.
Okay, but Dalvin Cook and Kamara came off ACLs, and they're fucking tearing everyone up.
Kamara never tore an ACL.
Didn't he literally? Oh no, it wasn't an ACL.
No.
It was just a knee.
He just had a shitty season last year, which is another
No,
reason
he
why
had a knee
you don't
injury.
pay running backs. Because, well, even then, it wasn't that serious of a knee injury, and he had a down year. The running back production is way too inconsistent to give one a long-term contract. And now we're starting to see Christian McCaffrey get banged up. And yeah, it's minor injuries now, but they add up. And then production slows down. And if you're trying to make the centerpiece of your offense centered around a running back and a running back alone, because that's what I see when I look at the Panthers offense, you're in trouble. And I like C-Mac. I really do. You don't pay running backs. And now he's already getting hurt. And I know it's still early in that contract, but he's not going to get any younger. And that deal's not going to get any cheaper. And Chris McCaffrey and David Johnson are very similar players. They could both play wide receiver. They can get out in space, but they also take a lot of hits and punishment, and you can only take so much of that. So I think if these injuries continue, if he gets one serious injury, it's going to spell doom for Christian McCaffrey. So that's just my take.
I buy it. I believe it. I think that you just gave him a lot of money. He has a supermodel wife. You still have to pay him a lot of money. Mm-hmm. He's not going to go back out there and keep getting hurt.
And that's the thing with David Johnson is, like, he had kids, got his big payday, and said, "Fuck it, I'm tired of getting hurt. I got a wife and kids to take care of." Right? Yeah, I'm going to go jog my routes and get 2 yards of carry and not get killed every play anymore. And that's exactly what David Johnson looks like now. Because in 2016, David Johnson looked like a top 5 player, not just running back player in this league. And then 2017 happened, and he fractured his wrist, missed the season, and then was never the same. And a wrist fracture isn't even that detrimental of an injury. Yeah, it's a serious injury. He missed the season, but it's not like tearing an ACL where you have some insane recovery. It's not like like I said, I don't like paying running backs. They take too much abuse. And like you even see it. Look at Mike Davis. Mike Davis is filling Christian McCaffrey's role excellently. There's really not that big of a difference. It's a waste. And that's just my take. I don't know. I think paying him was a mistake because you could probably throw any running back in any offense that's just slightly above average and get the same amount of production out of him if you're giving him the amount of touches the, quote, elite running backs are getting.
So while you know that I agree with you, and like I said on this show, we don't like paying running backs, I think there are certain running backs that get special exclusion from our normal policy. Like, I feel like Kamara should, right? He had his knee injury last year, but he still had a really good year despite his knee injury last year. Not amazing, but here he is, completely recovered from his injury, and he is the Saints' offense. And they're doing just fine. Just fine. Derrick Henry, they're doing just fine. Right? Dalvin Cook came off an ACL injury, and he's doing just fine. I don't think Dalvin Cook is the exception. I didn't like that contract, but I was okay with the Kamara contract. I was okay with the Henry contract. I wasn't okay with the Christian McCaffrey contract because I thought it was too much money. right? I thought it needed to be way less than that. But if it was way less than that, I would still be fine. Every other running back you want to talk about in the NFL, they should not be involved in those conversations. For those kind.
It's funny. You're mentioning all these guys, but the only one that I agree with is Derrick Henry because he doesn't really take abuse; he dishes it out.
Stealing my words from last week.
All those other guys have gotten hurt. Yeah, I am. And in all those running backs you mentioned, you can take them out of that offense and replace them with any above-average guy, and they'll be just fine. Even Kamara.
I don't think you can replace
it's
Kamara.
Not hard. It's not hard to catch a bunch of bubble screens out of the backfield, man. It's not like Drew Brees is throwing it far.
Yeah, but
they're scheming him open.
But
it's not that impressive. You could do that with any running back.
So the difference between someone like Kamara and let's just throw out any other running back you want that's not the ones we've talked about yet is Kamara creates space and not many people, not even backs, people can do that. I'm not totally disagreeing with your hot take here. The more I think about it, because I didn't like the contract initially because I think it's too much money, makes me not disagree with you completely. On the other hand, though, I don't think it's the worst decision the Panthers could have ever made. You needed a franchise face, and Christian McCaffrey was pretty much the only option at this point since Luke Kuechly retired. Newton was leaving. Olsen's already left. Yeah, you had to have you had to bring in fans, keep fans, right? In some way, shape, or form.
All right, that's fair.
If you ask me, the McCaffrey deal wasn't just we need to keep this player kind of deal. It was also a business decision. You are losing a ton of fans if you say bye to Kuechly and McCaffrey in the same offseason, I think. And Newton's not there. What do you have to broadcast? Oh, this rookie head coach in Teddy Bridgewater? Which not many... I mean, you and I both like Teddy Bridgewater a lot. But can you tell that to a fan base who's probably not sold on a rookie head coach from college or Teddy B? From a marketing standpoint?
Look at what you've gotten out of this contract since he signed it. What? 3 games?
I agree, but you have to look at before. Like how do you feel in March? Like how does it look?
And that's what I'm saying. If you're putting that much on one player, like your entire marketing team on one player, that should already be a red flag for not only your team, but your front office.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, who else would it be at the moment? Because most of your other franchise stars have left. So.
And you're not wrong, but I think making franchise-altering decisions with singular players like that, especially if it's a running back, is a huge mistake.
That I can't necessarily argue against. Like, I can't, disagree with you. I don't know, Gabby, how do you feel about, I know you've already said your piece, but, how do you think about this whole thing? Do you think the Panthers made the right decision to keep McCaffrey? Should they have let him go? Tried to throw out a whole gamble saying this is a complete rebuild?
I mean, I think they should have kept him. What would they have done without him?
See, that's how I feel, right? I think you have to keep a franchise star. If you're already losing 2, why would you lose a 3rd, right? And I love Teddy Bridgewater, and he's actually been fine this year with the Panthers, but there was no guarantee he was going to be fine. And signing Robbie Anderson isn't a wow signing. Now, Robbie Anderson's been fine; he's been good, right? All the signings have worked out for the Panthers, but you had no way of knowing that in March, I feel.
And to a point, I agree, because you can't just let. Because, I understand where the Panthers are coming from. You don't want to just let this guy go, but I don't think the long-term payback they're going to be getting from him is worth the amount of money and amount of years they're tied to him.
And I 100% agree with you there, because he's a running back,
right.
And that's the position.
Exactly. Because, the way I view running backs is you should draft one every 2 or 3 – you should draft one every single year, even if it's in the late rounds,
Ravens have done?
depending on need. Exactly. Draft one every year depending on need. If you need one really bad, don't draft one in the first, because I think that's a mistake. You're not getting good positional value there, and you're also going to be overpaying for them. Because the higher draft pick, the higher cap hit. That being said, depending on where your team's need is for a running back, I'd go say high as a mid-second rounder on a running back. But even if you don't really need one, like in the Cardinals situation, they had Kenyon Drake already, who they brought back on a franchise tag for about $8 million, which isn't terrible. They also had Chase Edmonds, who's the number 2 guy, and then they drafted an Eno Benjamin out of ASU in the 6th round. That's what you should be doing with running backs. The Cardinals didn't give Kenyon Drake some long-term deal. They transition tagged him for $8 million. That's what you need to be doing with running backs. And then if they explode and are looking to get that big contract, usher them out the door. Next man up, Chase Edmonds, you're the starter. Eno, you're the second guy, and we'll put someone back in to plug in the 3rd spot. That's just how I think running backs should be treated. It's just not necessary to spend that much money.
All this
ready to move on?
All this for us to say, and Gabby, you might have a comment on this. How much do you think your boys should be paying Nick Chubb next year?
I don't know. More than
let him walk and go with Kareem Hunt.
No way.
So here's the thing, right? I think you need to keep Nick Chubb, right? But don't pay him the $16-15 million Dalvin Cook got. If you ask me, I think $9 million, $10 million a year is fine for someone like Nick Chubb.
That'd be nice.
That's fine.
They're about to take out a fat stack for Baker. Hopefully not.
9 to 10 million, is that going to cut it for Nick Chubb? That's my question.
Probably not, but that's how I feel where running backs should lie, is in the 9 to 10 million range. By the way, I love Bell as an athlete, but fuck Lev Bell, the financial guy, because he started this whole fucking thing. Like, god damn it. And it didn't work out for Melvin Gordon, and look, he's still giving some really good production on a cheaper contract. Like, it's possible to not pay running backs and get value out of them. Mm-hmm. Mark Ingram, Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler got a great contract. I think he got, $6.5 million a year for 3 years? Mm-hmm. That's fantastic for the Chargers and him, right? That he gets $20 million guaranteed in his life. You can live your life off that. And he's on a team that has a young rookie quarterback, and they'll get their production they need out of him. Mark Ingram is $5 million a year. Kenyon Drake's on an $8 million transition tag. I think Melvin Gordon is I'm going to look it up real quickly. Melvin Gordon's contract.
Pretty sure he's on a 1-year deal.
He's on a 2-year, $16 million. So he's $8 million a year. That's fine. I'm down for that. That is cool with me. Anything more than $10 million, you're really pushing it, if you ask me. And you might not be worth it if you get hurt, because you are playing a position that's going to get you hurt, right? So every single guy we've talked about has been hurt outside of Derrick Henry, I think. Even Mark Ingram's hurt right now. I mean, Melvin Gordon got hurt. Nick Chubb has been hurt.
Kenyon Drake is hurt.
Yep. Like, it's the reality of the position. It's not us being haters against running backs. It's just the reality of the position, right? So let's get on to our Week 10 takes. So we actually have a banger of a game tomorrow night. Thank God, a good Thursday night football game. And if it goes any way that good matchups have been, it's going to be total garbage tomorrow night.
Probably.
It's the Colts and the Titans. This is a game for the division. This is going to be a ton of fun, I think. If you ask me how I think this is going to go, I like the Titans more. I like their offense more. I like A.J. Brown. I like Derrick Henry. I like Mike Vrabel as a coach. I like Frank Reich, too. But as we saw last week, if you can scheme up a good way to limit Phillip Rivers, there's not really another way the Colts are going to win the game. Also, if I remember correctly, the Colts have a bad time when they travel to Tennessee for whatever reason. Even when they had Andrew Luck, they had a bad time. This is in Tennessee. So I'm based off of trends and how the matchup works. I feel like Tennessee wins this game tomorrow and improves to 7-2. What do you think, Gabby?
I think Tennessee is going to roll through the Colts.
Ooh,
and Phillip Rivers is not going to have a good day. And they're not going to have a good day.
Okay.
I'm not big on Phillip Rivers. I think he's so bad. I think he's just really not good.
I've slandered enough Phillip Rivers on this podcast.
Yeah, and I just don't see it being a good day for them.
When I'm looking at this matchup, I'm actually pretty invested. I got AJ Brown playing, and he's been going off, so I'm definitely going to be watching. That being said, this Colts defense is really, really good, and I really like Frank Reich, and I like this Colts team. Like, I feel like they're very well balanced. They got a good run game. They got some decent weapons on offense, and yeah, I just don't like Phillip though. And when it comes to close matchups like these, which I think this one will be ? I'll look at the head coaching matchup and the quarterback matchup. And to be quite honest, I think I'll actually give it to Frank Wright on the coaching end. But I think Ryan Tannehill is that much better than Phillip Rivers. And I also like Derrick Henry in the backfield. I think the Titans win tomorrow night.
Sweet. So we're all in agreement. We got the Titans. I don't know why the NFL is demanding that the Giants play all their NFC East games right now, but that's the way the scheduling works. The Eagles play the Giants this week. As much as I despise the Eagles, and that Thursday night football game was some of the worst football we've ever watched, the Eagles squeaked away a win and didn't inspire confidence. The Giants, on the other hand, the last 2 weeks, almost squeaked a win past the Bucks, and, well, I guess they almost threw a lead to Washington, but they kept their lead against Washington and won. So they're on a good trajectory in the last 2 weeks. The Eagles are just they're the Eagles. I mean, if you ask me, I'm picking the Eagles here because I'm not going to pick Daniel Jones to outperform Carson Wentz. But I will say my one problem with Carson Wentz this year, when you watch him play, a lot of his problems this year, I feel, are that he is trying to do too much. I don't think he trusts his team this year. And I get that because he has no starting line, right? All the starters are gone. He's running on backups for the offensive line. They can't protect him. So he's got to force things to happen. So I know where his mentality's at. And I think he'd be a better player if he didn't have that mentality. I think Carson Wentz needs to calm down, trust the play calling, and let things happen. Because when he has let things happen, he's played much better. I think that continues against this Giants team. I'm starting to like Joe Judge. It's very clear at 2-7 that these Giants are still playing decently enough to be competitive, right? And part of that's coaching.
They just don't have the players.
They just don't have the players, right? I think I'm starting to like Joe Judge despite the team being 2-7. So we'll see how he does next year, but I think I'm starting to like Joe Judge at the moment. I don't think it's going to be better than Doug Peterson as long as Carson Wentz doesn't fuck this up. I'm picking Philly.
You want to go ahead, Gabby?
Yeah, I'm also gonna go with the Eagles. And the reasons why I'm picking it is just because, again, Daniel Jones has a good game and then he sucks, and then a bad game and then a worse game, and then the Baker Mayfield cycle happens to him.
Is that the man they call Danny Dimes?
Yeah, Danny Dimes. I've never heard of him. I've never
Danny Dismal. We call him Danny Dismal on this podcast.
Yeah, he's not very good. So I'm going to go with the Eagles. I mean, they're not good either, but two bad teams playing against each other. Really don't want to watch it.
It could be an exciting game. Who knows?
Yeah, you don't know what could happen. Anything could happen in that game.
Yeah, for me, this division's so smelly, dude. It's so bad. And whether it be a close game between two bad teams or a close game between two good teams, again, like I said earlier, I like to look at the quarterback and coaching matchups, and it's so far, no disrespect to Joe Judge, because I kind of like him as a coach so far, but it's so far in their favor with coaching and the quarterback matchup. Eagles, no doubt.
Here's a bigger question for yourself. Do you trust Jason Garrett to get Daniel Jones to win this game?
No.
The answer's
Please
no.
never ask me that.
Awesome. Okay, so the next one. Gabby, I'm going to make the pick for you. Pardue, I'm going to make the pick for you too. We are picking the Packers to beat the Jaguars in Lambeau Field, right?
Yes.
Did he just say no?
No.
Oh my god.
No.
Okay, fine. You know what? I'm making him a Jack pick.
We seen a Josh Rosen and Steve Wilkes led team go into Lambeau in November and beat the Packers. I'm going Packers.
I was going to say, dude, if you really want to make that argument, Matt LaFleur was not the head coach then.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So,
All right, yeah.
all right, next one. Maybe this one's tough. Maybe this one isn't. I don't know. But it's going to be the Washington football team versus the Lions. And it has been confirmed we are going to get a Matthew Stafford versus Alex Smith matchup. That's how much they hate Dwayne Haskins, by the way. Kyle Allen is out for the season, and Alex Smith is the one starting, not Dwayne Haskins. Very clearly, the Washington football team has moved on if you're not going to start Haskins again. They also could be thinking to themselves, we want to win the division. And Alex Smith probably gives them a better opportunity than Dwayne Haskins, I'd say, at that point. Alex Smith filling in for Kyle Allen last week threw for 325 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty good.
Also threw 3
But he also threw for 3 picks. He also threw 3 interceptions. So he giveth and he taketh, right? Against this Lions team, I don't know. I'm going to start passing off picks to you guys. But I'm going to take this one first, and then I'll start passing it off to you guys. I like the Lions, and I really, really, really want to pick them here. But for whatever reason, there's a gut feeling in my stomach that says Ron Rivera is going to outcoach Matt Patricia.
You really are going to let the Washington football team bite in the ass back-to-back weeks, aren't you?
I am. I'm picking Washington.
Dumbass.
It's okay. I'm assuming you're picking the Detroit Lions then.
Yeah, I'm going Lions.
Cool.
Also Lions.
All right, cool. Do you have a reason for it, or just because it's the Washington football team?
Just because
I'm sorry, could you repeat what you said, Gabby?
it's the Washington football team.
Oh,
I don't trust them.
I mean, that's totally fair. So we're going to pass it's kind of funny. I'm going to pass this one to Gabby first. This was not on purpose. It just kind of happened. It's the Texans versus the Browns. What do you got?
I have to say the Browns so people don't cyberbully me.
Specifically so the local Cleveland fans don't come at you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Exactly.
I want to go take a throwback to a tweet that you had, okay? Specifically on, I believe it was
Bring Deshaun Watson to Cleveland?
Yes. You said trade for Deshaun Watson. Well, here we are. They play against each other. If Deshaun Watson beats you, are you still going to be on that train?
Yeah, I'm going to fire it off right after.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. But on reality, though, do you actually think the Browns are going to win this game? Outside of you picking them
yes.
simply. Okay, cool. Is there a particular reason why?
Nick Chubb's back. I feel like he's going to have a big game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it.
I can see that. So, for me personally, I think the Browns will win this game, mostly because the Texans are just not good. I mean, they're bad. I thought that Bill O'Brien firing was early. I've talked about that on this show before. I thought it was a little too early. And I don't think it matters whether he was fired or not. They're just bad. I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. He doesn't have anything around him. I feel bad for J.J. Watt because he's got nothing around him, and J.J. Watt doesn't seem to want to be there either at this point. He's already stated in an interview he's not interested in rebuilding, so that's a big yikes on that one. The Browns, on the other hand, are a relatively well-coached team. They have a scheme that works for Baker Mayfield, and that works against this Texans team. They match up well. I'm picking the Browns.
Yeah, I'm going Browns as well. We saw the Browns perform their best when they had the two-headed monster in the backfield between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And now if you give that back to Baker Mayfield to have a really, really balanced run game, in addition to the weapons he has to throw to minus OBJ, this Texans team's completely checked out. I'm going Browns.
Okay, so I'm going to give the Buccaneers-Panthers away to both Pardue and Gabby. So, Gabby, right after Pardue is done here, I want you to go on your thoughts, Gabby.
Okay.
So, the Buccaneers and Panthers, first off, I'm going to go Buccaneers. I'm not a big believer in this Panthers team. I know they kind of got off to a decent start to begin the year, but now they're kind of showing their true colors. And another week without Christian McCaffrey, I know Mike Davis has filled in well with him, but They got some decent weapons on offense in terms of receivers, and Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson. But I just don't think it's enough. That defense is really missing its leader, Luke Kuechly. Yeah, I'm gonna go Buccaneers. I think they're better coached. They have more experience. Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bucks too, and I'm just gonna add in from everything that you said. They're gonna be playing pissed. They're mad. They just got their ass kicked.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're looking to go off.
Yeah, I'm kind of on there. They had a national embarrassment. I looked into it, Tom Brady's worst game he's ever played. And
Bruce Arians isn't going to take that kind of shit.
Oh, no. And here's the thing. A lot of people could say, well, Tom Brady's 43. Get rid of that narrative, okay? Tom Brady's playing elite at times. Get rid of the 43-year-old narrative, okay? He played bad because the Saints came out and said, oh, everybody thinks the Bucs are going to win? Okay. We'll show you guys, right? The Bucs literally came out wanting to prove something Sunday night. And not the Bucs. The Saints came out wanting to prove something Sunday night, and they did it. Now the Bucs got to do the same thing against their divisional opponent in a morning game. It'll happen, I think. Unfortunate for the Panthers because the Panthers look pretty good against the Chiefs, and the Panthers look really competitive despite being 3-6. I don't think this is a good game for them to try and bounce back. It's the Bucs. Pardue, you want to take Dolphins Chargers?
Dolphins and Chargers. So I think this is going to actually be a really fun matchup. We get to see two young rookie quarterbacks face off against one another, two guys that have played really well so far. I really like the Chargers, and I always kind of want to pick them, but I don't trust them with a lead. They're, in a lot of ways, very similar to the Falcons. They got a very good offense, and they can get ahead, but they can't quite seem to hang on to it. I think the Dolphins are a super well-balanced team. That defense is a lot better than people give them credit for. So that's where I'm going to give the Dolphins the edge. I think the Dolphins, I believe, win their fourth straight game, and they'll be victors over the Chargers.
Bro, they'd be 6-3. Holy moly.
Right? That's what I'm saying, man. The AFC's looking pretty damn good.
Yeah, I got the Dolphins too here. Like I said, I like Tua. I have a feeling he's going to be the franchise guy. He looks the part, right? And I understand he's going to have some bad games and whatnot. But overall, kind of like last year, how I had my faith in Kyler Murray pretty much the whole year, almost to a fault. I picked a lot of Cardinals games for them to win, and they kept losing because I had a lot of faith in Murray. That's probably going to end up happening with Tua this year and next year. I really like what I see from him. I think that only continues here, and it's a good team to play it against. It's the Chargers, right? Great thing for improvement. And I believe the following game the Dolphins have as well is also going to be a decent game for him. So I expect the Dolphins to, they play the Broncos, the Jets, and then the Bengals 3 weeks after this. This is a great stretch for them. So, yeah, Brian Flores is a good coach. I don't trust Anthony Lynn anymore, sadly. I used to really like him. I don't trust him anymore, and I would trust Brian Flores over him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dolphins also.
Sweet. Gabby, you want to tell us what you think about the Broncos and the Raiders?
Oh, okay. The Raiders are going to win this game. Broncos are bad. They're not very good. That's all I have to say about them. Derek Carr is having a really great season.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders have been looking good in a lot of games. And, yeah, the Raiders will win this game easily.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that you brought up Derek Carr, too, because I'm tired of Derek Carr slander. I don't know why people hate Derek Carr so much. Maybe it's just because of his brother. But Derek Carr's, he's a really good, not really good, but he's a above average starter in this league. He's a pretty good quarterback. I don't know why people give him so much hate. But yeah, I'm going Raiders in this game too. You know how I feel about the Broncos and Drew Lock. They're disgustingly bad. Raiders easily.
So I'm picking the Raiders here as well. I think the Raiders are the better team. I like the way that this offense runs. I don't think this is easily the Raiders, though. How do I put this? It's not so much about Drew Lock anymore. It's also about the fact that this Broncos offense has gotten fully healthy. And so often over the last few weeks, what we thought this Broncos offense possibly could have been over the offseason is starting to come to fruition, right? Drew Lock is finally entering like the last 4 to 5 games of what would be considered a full-length rookie season. And his reads are becoming better. Is he fantastic? No. I've never thought he was fantastic, but I've always thought his potential was there. He had the comeback game against the Chargers. Even last week, like, the comeback was there. And they didn't complete it last week, but it was there. And this offense, for whatever reason, loves to get sizzling in the third and fourth quarter. The Broncos' biggest problem is they can't get started. It's always the third and fourth quarters when they start cooking. And with all the weapons they have, you can't be surprised, right? Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, Noah Fant, KJ Hamler. Cortland Sutton's not there, but oh my God, what's his name? Jerry Jeudy. There's a lot to like about this offense, and I'm probably going to keep being on this offense hype train probably till the end of 21 because I want to see what it looks like with Sutton back in. I think it'll be close, but the Raiders are just a better team. Gruden, I think, will have a great game plan to beat Vic Fangio's defense. So all three of us are picking the Raiders here. Gabby, I'm going to have you start with the Bills and the Cardinals, and I'll go second. We'll have our Cardinals fan go last.
Okay, Bills and the Cardinals, I am going to go with the Bills. Because I like Josh Allen. I like how the Bills looked. You saw them against the Seahawks. That was what they did was crazy. I think they're probably going to do something similar to the Cardinals.
So I've got the Bills for this one. I've gone long time back and forth on this one, right? And last week's matchup for the Cardinals, I went back and forth on. I ended up picking Arizona. And, oh my God, fucking Zane Gonzalez is the reason I got burned. Jesus. I couldn't help but roll my eyes on that one. It wasn't even like it was just like short and off. No, it was just straight up short. I'm sure a lot of Cardinals fans feel worse than I do about it. But it just hurt. It just really hurt to watch. Now, I never want to hear Tucker slander from you ever again, by the way. The Bills, on the other hand, have not inspired confidence in me for the most part, right? So why would I pick them? Mostly because of how they performed against Seattle, right? We've seen how teams have beaten them, right? But the Bills did it more convincingly, I feel, than any other team that has beaten them or gotten close to beating them. And if that Bills team, which was reminiscent of the first 4 weeks that we saw, shows up, it's definitely a shootout that the Cardinals can win, but I don't think they're equipped to do because I think Sean McDermott will call a better defensive game plan than Vance Joseph will. And that's why I've got the Bills winning this game.
So for me, I'm going Cardinals, and it's a couple of really big reasons. Is they're getting 3 of their 4 starting quarterbacks back this week. Corner, yep. Yes. They didn't have Drake Kirkpatrick or their number 2 corner in Byron Murphy this last week. They also added Jonathan Joseph to that group to provide some more depth.
Jonathan Joseph is still in the league. Damn. Mm-hmm. Man. Right.
This team also just got back their best blocking tight end, who was a major key in this offense, and Max Williams. And then they just got him back last week. And not only did he score a touchdown, he was providing huge gaping holes and getting out in front for all these Kyler Murray runs that he had this weekend. And we also got back their starting safety in Jalen Thompson, and he made some impact plays and very nearly got an interception on a throwaway pass from Tua in that game. Just couldn't quite get the feet down. That being said, Cardinals are getting a lot of players back. They might even be getting Kenyon Drake back. And I think the whole reason why that Cardinals defense had such the debacle this last weekend is because Vance Joseph needs his guys on the back end to do what he wants to do with his blitz packages up front. And if he doesn't have the guys he needs on the back end, it's not going to work. So I'm really not worried about this defense. If they do it again this week, I'm going to be worried. The reason why I am picking the Cardinals is because everybody's going all off on the Bills about how great their offensive performance was this last week. But who's not having great offensive performances against the Seahawks? Due to against a good defense. Because prior to that game, they didn't break 20 points for 3 straight weeks. So I haven't been as big on the Bills this year. It was actually really, really difficult for me to pick the Cardinals in this one. But I think if the Cardinals are getting their guys back, I'm not a big believer that all of a sudden this offense in the Bills just completely clicked. I think they just paid the Seahawks defense, and it's one of the worst bottom 3, bottom 2 in the league. So I think it's going to be a close matchup, but I'm going to go Cards.
That's totally fair. Like I said, I think this is going to be a shootout, right? For me, it just really comes down to the fact that I feel that Sean McDermott will have a better defensive game plan than Vance Joseph will. That's really what it comes down to for me. But honestly, like, because I live in Arizona, I'm probably going to be rooting for the Cardinals, and also I'm in the AFC as a Ravens fan, so I want the Bills to lose. But, you know, as a non-biased person, I feel like the Bills have a better chance. Go Cardinals on this one, though. All right, Saints and 49ers. Okay, listen, we've already talked about on this show how 49ers are waving the white flag. We talked about it with Allie last weekend. And they certainly waved the white flag against the Packers. They'll be waving the white flag against the Saints, too. Go New Orleans.
Yep. Saints. That's it.
Yeah,
That's really it.
easily. The 49ers are done. They're just done. It's the Saints.
Okay, so if you want a great shootout to watch in the afternoon, if you don't get the Bills and the Cardinals, which we will. So, dude, this might be a doubleheader. I will be going back and forth on this. I'll have to look at our schedule. The Seahawks and the Rams should be an absolute firepower game day. Seahawks defense is bad. You got to score 30-plus points to beat the Seahawks at the moment. The Rams offense is playing the bad Seahawks. And when the Rams are cooking, they score a ton of points. This is going to be a ton of fun, I think. I'm really excited to watch the Rams and the Seahawks. However, I really don't fault Sean McVay for how okay the Rams look. I don't think it's ever even his fault. Like, the schemes he comes up with are still brilliant. The things he puts on the field are amazing. It's just his players don't always execute. Thanks, Jared Goff. The Seahawks will, I don't think, are going to contain Jared Goff, honestly. I think Jared Goff might pop off this week. I think one of my favorite things that Bootleg Fantasy loves to say, or maybe it's 360 Fantasy Football, I forget. It's one of the two guys. It's either Dan or I think the other guy's name is Michael that says it. You either get the Kansas City Rams or you get the Bears Rams. Mm-hmm. Right? You either get an offense that explodes and absolutely destroys you, or they're so inefficient it's hard to watch. I think even if we do get the efficient Jared Goff and the one that explodes, I'm not picking him to beat Russell Wilson. I understand Russell Wilson had a really bad week last week. And before that, when he was playing the Cardinals, it wasn't fantastic either. But if I'm being honest with you, is there anything in the Rams secondary outside of Jalen Ramsey that makes you believe Tyler Lockett's not popping off or DK Metcalf isn't popping off? One of the two guys is going to, I feel, right? I'm picking Seattle.
Yeah, for this one, the Rams are way too inconsistent for me to pick them. Kind of like what you said, and I really love Sean McVay, but I think his true impact on a game with his schemes is held back by his personnel. I also kind of think he needs to just pick a running back and go with it. He needs to quit messing around with this three-headed disaster of what it is.
This is the guy who owns a Rams running back.
That's part of it. It is part of it. But, I mean, Darrell Henderson is obviously so much better than Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers, and he's so much further ahead. And he's averaging 5-6 yards a carry almost every single game. Just give him the damn ball. Just stop making it so hard on yourself. And other than Cooper Kupp, I don't think any of the receivers are all that consistent either. I'm going to give it to the better quarterback and the better coach. And that's really saying a lot because I really like Sean McVay, but Pete Carroll's a great mind as well. I'm going to go Seattle.
Yep, I'm also going to go with Seattle. But I'm not going to say all the reasons because you guys literally said every single one I was going to say.
No, that's cool. All right, so Pittsburgh hater, are you picking the Steelers or the Bengals this weekend?
I'm going to have to pick the Steelers, but let's just say that Big Ben can't make it. He's going down, and Mason Rudolph is in the game. I'm going for the Bengals. But until that point, I'm going for the Steelers. Yeah. That's all I got for them. Because, I mean, what else do I have to say? Steelers are, you have Joe Burrow. He's good. But
for this matchup, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think Joe Burrow has shown the ability to keep games interesting even against really, really good defenses. Maybe outside the Ravens game. I believe that was his one really bad game. But I think he's going to keep it close. He's starting to get chemistry with his weapons. He's looking better and better each week. I just don't think that Bengals defense has enough to stop that Steelers offense. It'll probably be closer, but I'm going to go Steelers.
So, the players that used to make this matchup scary don't exist anymore. This game was never fun to watch because someone always got hurt. This was the game where Ryan Shazier got hurt. This is the one where Antonio Brown got hurt. This is the one where I believe it was A.J. Green got hurt. This matchup never ends well. But luckily, the douchebags like Vontaze Perfect are all gone. And Pac-Man Jones. They don't exist anymore on the Steelers and the Bengals. It's a lopsided matchup that, man, I want to pick the Bengals here because I feel like they're going to upset the Steelers here. But I'm not going to do it. I think they win here. They go 9-0. Sunday night's game. God. Man. Why? I love my Ravens, I really do, but this game needs to be flexed out for like the Bills and the Cardinals or the Hawks and the Rams or something that looks better than this. It's the Ravens and the Patriots. Let's be honest, the Patriots have one of the worst rosters in the NFL right now. Belichick has even admitted in interviews that they didn't have a lot to work with this year when it came to cap space. And that he was working with minimal effort, and there's a reason why they only paid Cam Newton so much. Compare that to the Ravens roster, who is stacked across the board. And the billing ticket on the marketing will be Cam Newton versus Lamar Jackson, but is it even a comparison?
Bad.
Is it even a comparison? Bad. I mean, he had a great Monday night game. Let's be fair to him. He had a great Monday night game. But who doesn't?
Versus the Jets.
But I was gonna say who doesn't have a great game against the Jets, right? The billing will be, mobile quarterback versus mobile quarterback, but one quarterback has a better roster and has been doing better this year than the other guy. So
yeah, and the other one's best offensive weapon is Rex Burkhead.
Yeah. So I'm picking the Ravens. Obviously, it's not hard.
Yeah, it's not even close. Ravens.
Again, yeah, it's not even close. The Ravens.
Cool. So, we've gone on and on and on about how much we dislike the Bears over the last few weeks on this show. Whether it's Pardue saying he dislikes them and I try to defend the Bears just for the sake of defending them, or I say that they're bad and Pardue defends them just for the sake of defending them, because we try not to seem too biased. You, Gabby, on the other hand, I know our bias and don't like the Bears. Give me what you think is going to happen in this Vikings-Bears game. Lay it all out.
Nick Foles is probably going to throw 3 picks. Their defense, everybody says, ooh, the Bears' defense. It doesn't matter. Dalvin Cook's going to run right through them. It's going to be bad. And then Mitch Trubisky's going to be sad on the sidelines, even though he would have done the same exact thing.
That was a great way to explain the Bears, because it's kind of what they are this year, right? They're so mind-numbingly frustrating to watch on offense. So frustrating. Because this Bears defense, you're right, is very good. But the offense can't complement them at all. They can't play complementary football. The Vikings, on the other side, can. They know how to play complementary football. I anticipate Mike Zimmer's defense to handle Matt Nagy's offense.
Yeah, I've always said that offensive football provides hope, and this Bears offense doesn't exist. They don't have any hope. Sorry, Bears fans. It's easily Minnesota. They're starting to come on. Dalvin Cook's been amazing the last couple of weeks. Minnesota.
All right, cool. So that wraps up this show. We have it at an hour and 35 minutes. We reached our normal goal. Gabby, I want to thank you so much for coming on with us this weekend. You've been a blast to have. Your clearly biased takes are a lot of fun to listen to. And, well, I mean, it's always fun to have a guest on because we try to be, like, not biased. I mean, Pardue picking the Cardinals is slightly biased, I would say. But he had good reasons for it. We try to be very fair to how we treat our teams. I've been pretty critical of Baltimore this year as well. But whenever we have a guest, it's always nice when they just unleash their thoughts without, trying to be non-biased. So, and you are definitely a person on social media who's not afraid to say how their opinion is. So thank you very much for being yourself on this show. We appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I had a blast.
Yeah, do you have anything else, Pardue?
I think that's all I got, man.
All right, well, you can find GabbGoudy. For those who don't know, our Arizona listeners who don't know who she is, you can find GabbGoudy on Twitter. She's hilarious. You should follow her. She also has a free jersey giveaway going on right now on her Instagram. So if you want to see how you can get a free NFL jersey, you can follow her on Instagram and follow whatever direction she has on there. For us, you can follow us at HC Analysts or me at HCJC Sanders or Pardue at HC Pardue. We are the Head Couch Analysts. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful week. See you next week.